What's going on today? How's it going, everyone? That was been a little bit of an intro there. I was just clearing something off my desktop. Well, we got a good one for you today. Both my knees are a little achy right now, actually, because I had some people ripping on my legs at noon class today. So that was fun, and you gotta love it. We might have a new instructional coming out for you. I'm putting one of my buddies on it. He's gonna start putting a new instructional out together, and also I think I'm gonna start doing a kids class instructional. So that'll be kind of cool. Just basically, moves to get your kids that you can do at home with them to get them from white belt to gray belt, whatever that means at the kid level. I was gonna put a whole playlist together of different things, kind of rambling about it. It's not necessarily intended for the actual kids to sit down and watch this. This is more of the parents. If they were curious about it, I am a firm believer that you should not make your kid sit down and treat jiu-jitsu like homework unless they really like it. We have one kid who is fascinated by jiu-jitsu instructionals and stuff like this. So I think we're actually going to get him and maybe a couple other ones to help us film the instructionals. So that'll be fun. We're excited for that. But along the same lines here, it got me thinking here, what is the equivalent to an adult? What are some things that an adult would care to know about in terms of becoming a blue belt, to go from white belt to blue belt? So in jiu-jitsu, just a little recap here. Once you're 16 years old, you're officially considered an adult. Okay, so that means you enter the adult belt system. Now, the adult belt system is you start at white, you go to blue, you can go to purple, you go to brown, and you go to black, hopefully. Okay, and that's the system. There's 5 belts. You earn your white belt, you earn your blue belt, you really earn your purple belt, you really earn your brown belt, and you really earn your black belt. Okay, so each one. Oh, and I was looking this up the other day. The speculated, where was this? I had this. I'll pull these facts up. You might really enjoy these. How do I word this? This is fun. I was looking this up after one of my private lessons. We were talking about belts and different things like this. I'll just pull up ChatGPT. Okay, so nice. Okay, cool. So just in general, I just want to just quickly, while we're on this topic of belts, this just popped into my mind. I would have prepared this if I knew I was going to talk about this, but some sources estimate that there are like about 3 million people who have trained jiu-jitsu in their life. Let me convert this to percentage here. Can you very poor speller. Real quick. Yes, I've got that. Okay. All right, so listen to this. So in all of humanity, we're looking at about 0.05% of the world population, 0.06 100ths of humanity are white belts. Okay, and then 8 1,000ths, so that's 0.008% of humanity are blue belts. Okay, so this is kind of our entire chat for today, is how do we go from that 600th, that 0.06% of humanity, to that 0.008% of humanity? How do we go from white belt to blue belt? What's the easy way to go from white belt to blue belt? Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to just kind of talk about what even is a blue belt. What even is a blue belt? Turn my light down a little bit too. It's a little cozier. I like that feeling a little bit. The thing was just too bright in my eyes. Okay, so what is a blue belt? So old school, you want to know what a blue belt is? According to Elio Gracie, it's someone who can beat up someone who's larger, bigger, larger, stronger, perhaps younger than them. Okay, but though that person is untrained. So if you can tap out and roll with someone who's stronger, bigger than you, bigger and stronger, but they're untrained, and you can submit them, then according to Elio Gracie, you would be a blue belt. Okay, now that's something that doesn't take very long. You know, that's like six months maybe of training. You know, if you're pretty consistent, that doesn't really take that long to accomplish that. I'm sure if you're training jiu-jitsu on your way to blue belt, you are, you know, encountering people who come into the gym to try it out who happen to be bigger, stronger than you, and you can end up tapping them out. So on paper, according to Ilya Gracie, you're technically a blue belt. Now, does that mean how it really works still? I don't know. I think as jiu-jitsu is progressing in the modern era, that the requirements and kind of prerequisites for this blue belt go up. Oh yeah, I brought this out. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. Turn it. Boom. So anyways, so that's kind of what the blue belt is in the old school. But obviously, like I was saying, modern jiu-jitsu is much different than it was in the old days. There's a lot more moves. There's a lot more submissions. There's a lot more positional things. I think even the leg lock positions should kind of be required in terms of blue belt, just knowing them, right? Okay, so another old school thing is you have white belt is survival mode. You have to go from being a baby seal. That's what I used to be. They used to call me that, baby seal, because I would just get smushed and look up and I'm like, help me. Right before you club the baby seal in the head with a bat to kill it, they give you those big baby seal eyes. And that is the baby seal. So you have to go from being a baby seal to not a baby seal, to be harder to submit, harder to club, to take out. So that's really what your goal is. Now, what that means in the modern day jiu-jitsu is it means you need to fight back a little bit. You need to put up a tough time. You're still going to get held down. You're still going to get submitted, of course, by upper belts especially. But you know, you got to be challenging to do it. You got to have some good defense, some understanding of how to get out of the arm bars, how to stop yourself from getting choked. I'm not expecting you to get out of higher belts mounts. That's just unreasonable for a blue belt. Blue belt is still a more beginner style belt. It's such a huge spectrum of skill in blue belt. You can have a brand new blue belt, or you could have a 4-stripe blue belt who's on the cusp of purple. And I even know some blue belts who have 8 stripes on their belt. They just milk it. And I've heard like stories from Tom and Trevor saying there used to be these blue belts who would milk the belting system, and they would end up being 8-year blue belts. Their blue belt was tattered, training twice a day for 8 years, just tattered. They really should be brown belts, but they were just blue belts, you know. So it is kind of subjective, it is kind of vague, but there's just a huge range of blue belt that blue belt can be. I mean, you even look at MMA fighters. I'm just looking up something here, you know. Some certain MMA fighters like Khabib, right? A fantastic grappler. Apparently, he's only a white belt in jiu-jitsu. White belt and blue belt, more common than you'd think for MMA fighters. I know for a fact there's a famous video of Khabib wearing a white belt. He's joining a jiu-jitsu gym and he's wearing a white belt. You know, just out of respect, he's by far not a white belt grappler. You know, he's arguably one of the greatest of all time to do it. 29-0 in MMA at the UFC, nonetheless, and he's still putting on a white belt with his gi for the jiu-jitsu class. Obviously, he's not a jiu-jitsu practitioner, so out of respect to the art, when he was going to learn it, he put the white belt on. Okay, I think John Jones was only a purple belt or something Um, and another incredible Greco-Roman wrestler, UFC champion, another arguable GOAT, greatest of all time. So, anyways, there's a bunch of different uh, varieties that can come within these belting systems. So, first of all, I want to kind of lay that out there. So, do we really know what a blue belt is? I mean, not really, not officially. Elio says you can beat up someone bigger and stronger than you. That's not untrained. That's untrained. The modern jiu-jitsu has evolved. You need to know more and more, in my opinion. Um, so I think the stakes get raised a little bit. However, I don't think we should make blue belt seem like it's like to achieve a blue belt. It should not be like this like massive, 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 um, like not I don't want to say accomplishment, but we shouldn't set it up like it's like, oh, we're masters now. No, we're still beginners, man. The blue belt is so important for development. It needs to be a patient belt, and you need to go through a ton and ton and ton of different trials and stuff. And you should not rush that blue belt. You should not rush that blue belt. So, anyways, that's a kind of a different story. So, anyways, I want to talk about when you receive your blue belt. This is a way that I was kind of inspired to think about the promotion. Okay, so Tom, when I got my blue belt, he said, this is I don't know where he got it from, but he told me this is how he used to think about his belts. Once you go from white belt to blue belt and you get your blue belt, although you're wearing your blue belt, it does not mean you are a blue belt, okay? You have a blue belt, but while you're wearing that blue belt, you're constantly earning that belt. So you're not officially a blue belt until you receive a purple belt around your waist. Okay, so let's say this one more time. So I'm a white belt. I have a white belt around my waist. The promotion night comes. I go through the gauntlet. I get my blue belt. After all my hard work, I put my blue belt on, or coach puts it on. All right. I am officially a white belt. I've officially earned my white belt. I've gotten my white belt. I've checked it off. Everything at white belt I have learned, and I have succeeded it. I am officially a proven, true white belt. Okay? Now, I have a blue belt around my waist. Now, for the next 2 to 4 years or whatever, I'm going to be learning the lessons of blue belt. Okay? So as the time goes on, I'm going to be figuring out my jiu-jitsu that corresponds with what I'm wearing. I'm going to be becoming that blue belt. Once I have achieved all of my knowledge in that blue belt realm, I receive a purple belt, and I have officially earned my blue belt. That means the knowledge that that destiny required me to possess to wear this thing officially, I have fully completed that. So basically, what this kind of philosophy does, and it's just kind of a tricky way of orienting how you think about yourself. And it kind of frames it, instead of saying, yes, I've achieved my blue belt, therefore, good, I've accomplished my goal. Most people's goal in jiu-jitsu is to get that blue belt, especially when they're first starting. I really want the next belt. I really want the next belt. Well, the day comes when you get that next belt, and guess what? Oh, I don't really need to train that much. I just accomplished my goal. I can kind of chill out. Don't need to train as much. I just totally did what I was doing it for, and now here I go. And let me pull up this statistic. I think I had it somewhere here. It's basically just blue belt is the place where most people quit. Most people quit. I thought I just saw that statistic. Black belt, white belt, purple belt. I wish I had that exact number in front of me. Oh, most people. Yeah, I don't know. They just definitely quit a lot right here. Most people quit at this stage here. They don't even make it to blue belt. And then once they get to blue belt, they quit. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why does that happen? Well, I think, in a way, many people put that blue belt as their goal. And once they receive that blue belt, they quit. But if you use this philosophy like, I've earned my white belt and now I'm becoming this blue belt, I think it'll mitigate some of that quitting tendency, okay? And they have this thing called the blue belt blues. Like, this is a whole nother thing where you kind of get depressed and you feel like you're not progressing. So anyways, I'm going to go through and just kind of give you a list of different things if you're a white belt to speed up your your way to earning one of these straps around your waist. But remember, it's better to be the belt rather than have the belt, okay? So always keep that in the back of your mind. That's a mindset that's going to change you and save you from heartache and like despair and like feeling like you're not good enough or imposter syndrome. You always want to be the belt rather than wear the belt, have the belt. Lastly, I do want to just also say, if anything on this list, if you are currently wearing a blue belt and you are a blue belt, if there's anything on this list that, rings true to you, you might want to use it in your own game. I mean, even some of these things are just good truths for me where I'm at to even start to keep reminding myself of using these things. So in order to speed up your journey to grabbing a blue belt, the first thing I have on my list here is using an underhook. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't even know what an underhook was for so much of my jiu-jitsu journey in the beginning. I didn't even know. I heard people say overhooks and underhooks, but I had no idea what they meant. I heard it in the UFC broadcast. I heard, you got to get the underhook. I had no clue what that meant. No one ever showed me what that meant, okay? Underhook, overhook, underhook, overhook. Right? In the kids' class, I teach them, if you make a U with your arm, that's an underhook. If you make an O with your arm like this, it's an overhook. Underhook, overhook. And it's a way to kind of start grappling with the body. Listen, you can use underhooks not only on the feet, all right? A lot of the times people think it's on the feet, but no, you should be using while you're passing, while you're escaping, all these different things. Everywhere, underhooks everywhere. Transitioning, isolating arms, everything. You want to be using the underhook everywhere. So the first thing on the list is, in all of your jiu-jitsu, if you're a white belt, try to have some awareness and ask yourself, where can I use my underhook? Okay? Really make that part of your thinking. Where can I use my underhook? Okay? The next thing on my list is break and make grips. For too often, I would just accept what people would grab me, especially in the gi. Okay? We slap and bump. We start going. They make their grips, crap. They clamp right onto me. And I don't recognize that their initial touches on me is the beginning of their success through the round, okay? So when they make grips, I would just let them grab me and go. I mean, all right, they grab me here, so what? Who cares? No. If they grab me and I don't want it there, I must clear the grip and establish my own. So that's why I have break and make grips. All too often, I didn't understand that that's where the decline of my success in the round began, were those initial grips. And if you can just interrupt that or not give them the establishment of what they want, it's going to be more difficult for them to make meaningful connection to your body, legs or collar or sleeve, anything, okay? Getting out of closed guard is my third thing, but getting out of closed guard reliably, all right? I've had a ton of people talk to me about this lately, and this can be so controversial, okay? But, dude, there's a difference between getting out of closed guard and breaking a closed guard open. Rather than that, there's a difference between that and then being let out of a closed guard, okay? Being let out of a closed guard implies that it's not your decision, okay? It implies it's the other person's decision to open their legs and try something different. Breaking out of a closed guard implies that my decisions, my choices, and my movements have ruptured their control and priority of controlling me. So that just shows my influence over their desires, okay? I can control what they want, what they get based on how I perform. And that's how you need to think about getting out of closed guard reliably. You need to be able to do this over and over and over again, any situation with any opponent type. Okay, and now that sounds massively hard, but the best way to generate that breaking force on your opponent's closed guard is to stand up. Now, a lot of people try to stand up in this guard and it fails, okay? Especially at the beginner white belt level. Listen, first of all, that's okay. You're not going to be good at it yet. That doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying it, okay? So there's a learning curve with this. Number two, you need to make sure you're doing it the proper way. If you're just popping up to your feet and you're not being mindful of where your weight is and how you are stacked over this person, you're not going to have good success. You're going to keep getting pulled down. This is how you do it. Hands in the armpits, step one. Head over head, Step 2, stand up. Step 3. And for whatever reason, if they are still clinging on to you, you can quarter turn and break that guard open with your hands. Okay? But you're on your feet when you do it. Okay? You're not on your knees. Also, you must step out fast. If you do not step out fast, you're going to get put on your butt. This is not the end of the world if you know how to deal with it. This is just a side quest, okay? So you need to be able to get out of closed guard reliably. And maybe we'll do a video separate on that some other time. But this is just the modern way of getting out. It's the way of getting out, breaking out, rather than being let out. And there is a huge difference, because I'm not going to let you out of my closed guard unless I have a follow-up attack ready to rock, okay? If I let you out, it's my terms. Even if you're kind of suggesting for me to let you out, it's still a choice on my behalf. So just something to think about. Number 4 for my list here, I have us saying on this list, passing in both directions. What does that mean? It means I'm not just going to pass to the left side, bang, 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 bang. And this also doesn't mean I'm just going to pass to the right side either. Okay? Although there is kind of a little bit of wisdom and strategy to doing guard passes to the right, because typically most people just practice defending it to the left. But I think more and more people are becoming more symmetrical with their guard. So anyways, what I will say, what I mean by passing in both directions, is you could take a very beginner guard passer, very new person, teach them how to grab the pants, teach them how to grab the knees and kind of play with the knees, but start using Toreandos in both directions simultaneously. Okay, so I pass to the left, the guard guy defends it. I pass to the right. I use their defense to throw right by into my next one. They defend. I throw right back into the left side, okay? So I'm constantly passing in both directions. I'm constantly ping-ponging back and forth on my intentions. I attack this way, they deny it. I attack this way, they deny it. I attack this way, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and eventually I will crack the code. And I will even add a third thing is, don't just pass to side control, pass to north-south, okay? So passing in both directions is huge. And make sure, number 5, you understand the general procedure of jiu-jitsu, okay? Jiu-jitsu is not submit someone from closed guard when you're on top. Jiu-jitsu is get past those guard, get past those legs, get past the guard, pin them down, control them, isolate limbs. That's what jiu-jitsu is, okay? In the opposite, I did a whole video with this flowchart of how this worked. It's on my channel, okay? The egg concept. I teach this in beginner's class. Or kids class. My first unit on kids class was, I thought to myself, I said, how do I take this kind of good guard retention in a conservative manner and explain it to a 4 or 5-year-old? And I just had them make little eggs, like a little egg. I used to play a game on the trampoline where I would I would curl up into a little ball on the trampoline. I'd connect my knee and my elbow together on the trampoline, and my mom would bounce the trampoline very, very hard. We'd call it, try to crack the egg. And ideally is like the kids bouncing in this little ball, and they're going wild and wild. And eventually they kind of either laughing or they get scared and they open their egg up and they crack the yolk. They crack the egg. It was just a fun game. But as you'll come to find out in jiu-jitsu, having your knees, I can't do it right now because I have a thing in front of me. As you come to find out, in jiu-jitsu, having your elbows and your knees connected and having your hands out like this, kind of like you're looking through binoculars, but like this, okay, is very safe and very good. It's tough. They can't pass your guard if they're resting on your frames. This is the essence of framing. So I call it the egg concept because for a child, they can understand making a little egg. Make your egg, make your egg. And it's basically just a way to deny the chest-to-chest pressure, is to keep people off of you. It's framing, basically. It's guard retention. It's late-stage guard retention. And it leads to inside position. So that's why the egg concept is such a good thing, especially for a beginner. You don't need to go all the ins and outs of inside position and slip the elbow and pummel in. I mean, that's great to learn, but, which, comes into my 6th thing, learn as much as you can always. This just basically means total immersion. I recommend people following YouTube channels, following Instagram, Facebook, jiu-jitsu athletes, jiu-jitsu, industry leading people. There's a ton of knowledge out there. BJJ Mental Models, they have a ton of free stuff. Dan Hurt Diaries has a ton of free stuff. Or not free, those ones are not free, but there's a ton of great information in there. There's tons of podcasts. But I like the ones that are very much like Jiu-Jitsu truths, okay? Not necessarily stories. A lot of different things are just kind of stories. You could buy a book. That Miha Modern Day Grappler book, that's pretty good, to be honest with you. It's pretty much that modern day Nogi grappler. It's Miha, right? I believe it is. The Legion guy. That's a good book. You could definitely check that out. Different things like that. That's what I would do. But just learning as much as you can, always, that's really important. And working hard and trying hard. But knowing when to exert yourself, this is more of an advanced principle in my opinion. In the beginning, working hard and trying hard, physically trying to exert yourself, that is kind of natural for some personality types. And I think knowing when to do it, because sometimes it is very appropriate to really push it down and get after it and hold and clinch and squeeze. Sometimes it is really important, but sometimes it's equally important, maybe even more important, to go loose and go with the flow. Okay, be soft when you have to be soft, be hard when you have to be hard. Use your muscles when you need them, but don't use them when you don't need them, because then it's just a waste of energy, right? And knowing when to do it and when to step on the gas and when to let off the gas, that comes with experience. And if you could just kind of remind yourself that, squeezing and going hard is okay, but you just need to make sure you're doing it in the right moments, okay? And that's kind of what I was saying. If you use it, you got it. This is just a little phrase, if you got some strength, you can use some strength. There's nothing wrong with using a little bit of strength, but make sure you're using it tastefully. And I mean, that's going to depend on kind of the partner I'm going against and also what I'm trying to do. Am I trying to learn technique today, or am I trying to be aggressive and kind of pump my cardio and really get it on? And if I want to use a little extra balance and strength and get on top and stay on top, maybe I will. But you are what you eat in this respect. So if that's all you do, when you get put on your back by someone who can defend you, then you're going to have a huge deficit, okay? Last thing I want to say here is a couple last things. Don't aimlessly wander around just kind of going up and doing rolls because you just got out of work and you really want your blue belt. So you're going to train hard and just aimlessly do it. And you're going to keep showing up until you get that blue belt. I mean, the idea of perseverance is good, but you need to persevere with mind first, okay? You need to persevere with trying to get better. You will get better on your own by going, but it's going to take a lot longer. You must focus on some specific things. Prime example, if you're going to practice tonight, just say, hey, I'm going to use the underhook. I'm always going to try to find a spot for that underhook. And if you do that for 2 months, dude, you're going to be legit. You're going to actually give people troubles. If you say, I'm going to break grips when they grab me and I'm going to use the underhook, just those two things alone, man, that's going to be tricky to deal with already. And so this is an idea of don't aimlessly wander. Don't just go to class and say, I'm just going to do rolls and roll. I hope I don't die. I hope I survive. Now, I mean, that's great. That's great. But imagine if you went in there with specific goals, okay? You would see tremendous growth right out of the gate. So once again, jiu-jitsu belts and stuff, they don't necessarily matter. Remember, it's better to be the belt, rather than have the belt. There is a huge difference. A lot of people just have the belt and they're content with just having the belt because that's their accolade. And they feel like, I've achieved this, therefore, I'm done. Now I'm just going to go through the motions. Well, it's important never to become stagnant and always be growing. There's so much to learn all the time. Okay? Always sharpen the areas where you're having trouble. Get fascinated with the frustrations. If something's frustrating you, it actually should be fascinating to you. How does jiu-jitsu work like this? How come when I want to do something, I can't do it? What? That should be fascinating. That should be fascinating. So take control of that element. Take control of that mindset. And don't aimlessly wander. The spectrum's long. This blue belt is a long road, okay? And getting to the blue belt, it shouldn't be that hard. It should not be that hard. I bet you could do it within 6 months to a year. To a year and a half. I think it took me a year and a half for my blue belt. Like it took some time, and I was training quite a bit, but had I learned a little bit more of this kind of stuff as well, and I probably learned it, to be fair. I probably just was too stupid and I didn't really understand the significance of it. Like, yeah, underhooks, yeah, not me. I don't need an underhook, Listen, everyone needs an underhook, okay? So there's just a ton of different stuff that you can hopefully take from this video. And if you're a white belt and you're kind of like, feeling like, man, blue belt's taking forever to get to, first of all, don't think about getting to it. Think about being it. And remember, you're still working on earning your white belt right now, dude. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. But don't be aimlessly wandering around in class. Like, go in there with a purpose, get some stuff done, try to learn as much as you can. Class might end at 7:30, but are you still thinking about it? Are you still wondering about it? Are you still trying to figure out the puzzle when you're at home, when you're driving to work, when you're at work the next day? Class should never end, all right? Class should never end. You should always be trying to step your game up in jiu-jitsu, thinking about things, doing different drills on the off days. Maybe perhaps your lifting regimen changes, okay? Changes more for a stability-based regimen in jiu-jitsu, more of an isometric holding and like stability-based thing. Maybe your cardio session changes. Dude, I used to run like freaking 8 miles a week as a white belt. I was chunky, so I was trying to lose a little bit of weight, but maybe I should have started doing sprints, and I was also kind of into striking and Muay Thai at the time, so I was kind of embracing that Thai culture, but maybe I should have done something else to get a little better gains, Maybe I don't do bench press. Maybe I do squats, like box squats and stuff with Xerxes grips. Different things like this to kind of make it more jiu-jitsu and isometrically building. Anyways, that's a whole nother realm we're about to dive into there. I'm going to go off crazy on a ramble session like I already have. So anyways, check out my video about that jiu-jitsu flow chart if you're a little confused. Like, if you don't understand the relationship of the top player and the bottom player, check out Decoding the Game. It's an instructional on this channel. This goes into this, okay? I was probably a blue belt when I made this instructional, okay? So check out Decoding the Game. Make sure you truly understand the different roles in jiu-jitsu and what you should be doing, the general roadmap. If you don't know where you're going to go, dude, it's going to be hard to get there. But if you know where to go, you can start kind of navigating on your own and kind of being autonomous with your jiu-jitsu. You understand the true relationship of jiu-jitsu. So check that out. Check out my flowchart thing. It's only like 20 minutes long if you're curious about that. But for the most part, you're not the belt until you've earned the belt. So get it on, all right? Take it easy. Thanks for watching.